Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Janet Foster Show, where you hear real talk, where you can act on. And if you've been watching the Facebook page and the Twitter page, you know that we were working on a little delay. A lot of that has to do with, here in Los Angeles, we kind of had a little situation earlier today. LA Unified Schools, if you haven't caught up with your news, you may have heard a little bit, so I'm going to give you the details. LA Unified School District, the second largest school district in the United States, they closed schools today based on what officials call a credible terror threat. And by later this afternoon, they determined that the threat was a hoax. We had two members of Congress, local members of Congress, Adam Schiff, who is actually on the International Terror Committee, and he's based in Burbank. He actually did a press conference and let out comments today that what happened at LAUSD today is indeed a threat, a hoax, and they are tracing the whereabouts of the individual. If you are familiar with the situation, most of us here in LA had heard this morning that the IP address that listed some details, schools, items, things like that. They were actually found. They found the IP address initially to be somewhere based in Germany, but then they figured, I think once the FBI got involved, I think the message was routed through Germany. And for the most part in the afternoon, a lot of the media, we were told that they never told the exact location or what they were honing in, but they said it was closer than Europe. And, that could be anything. It could be in the U.S. It could be here in California. It could be in Canada. But just hours ago, about 3.5 hours ago, news releases did report that this was a hoax. And, we are on high alert as a result of the tragedy in San Bernardino. Some initial information that officials are letting out about this particular case with LAUSD. They said that the note somehow was written by someone claiming that they were being bullied and that they were a part of a jihadist group. But however, officials said that a lot of the writing and details of the story were inconsistent. This individual's knowledge of Islam was not consistent with what's been seen. So, and they have definitely labeled this as a hoax. And also Congressman Brad Sherman from the Valley, he was also involved, and we're going to see a lot of officials talking about it. And right now, some experts, I want to say terror pundits, they are criticizing, I think, Mr. Cortinez's decision to close schools. But I think here in LA, a lot of people are going to be supporting him because it was the right thing to do. And knowing what just happened in our community just 70 miles away, it was the right thing to do. But I just wanted to cap the day off with that. And we know that we are broadcasting simultaneously where the Republicans are having their debate, and quote unquote. And you know how I feel about these debates. They're basically job interviews for a pageant right now. We are 7 weeks away from the primaries. And I will catch that debate on rerun. And certainly we will have some feedback. I'm actually lining up some guests for that for you. But for today, I definitely wanted to just remind you that right now you can get social with me on Facebook at Janet Foster. And again, on Twitter and Instagram at Janet D. Foster. And I just got some shout outs for some power listeners on Twitter. There's this figurative thing on Twitter that everybody talks about the draft, the race draft. And I just want to shout out to Jay Brogers 13. He and I kind of shared a little banter about the draft. I gave away Kanye West, and we were basically he was trying to give Abby Fisher away, who is going to be the subject of who we're talking about today. But I pushed back on Abby, and we agreed on joint custody of Halle Berry and Maya Rudolph. So Jay Brogers 13, thanks so much. And certainly all of you, please interact with me. Feel free, and the draft or anything else. But and also some shout outs for some power listeners on the Stay Mad Abby hashtag who've been giving me love. You Chai Libs, Black Engineer 79, I Jesse Williams, and Sam Whiteout. You are fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And on Instagram, Sheru Smith 91. Thank you so much for your love on Instagram. And Might Be Mental, thank you. And Millennial Week, you always give me love, and you always share with your members and your followers, and encourage them to interact with me and listen to the show. Thank you so much. And for all of you who are discovering this show, this is a show for Gen Xers, millennials, and we just keep getting these cool baby boomers that keep finding us. And I appreciate you, and definitely keep giving me shout outs. Today's show is a little bit different. I normally have call-in guests, but I have a guest that's here in the studio with me, and definitely I expect to have fun. And I want to talk a little bit about, before I introduce my guest, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that you may have been watching on definitely on the Facebook page, because I've been giving you the trending news, and heavy trending over the weekend. It started last Thursday, peaked on Friday, and consistently was the number one trending item Saturday, Sunday, through yesterday afternoon. And that was Stay Mad, Abby, and also Impeach Scalia. Those were the top two trending items, both on Facebook and Twitter, and they were the lead news stories. And and who I'm talking about with Abby Fisher, this is the Supreme Court case that's addressing affirmative action, and Abby Fisher is a young lady who feels that she was wrongly denied admission to the University of Texas. She feels like there were Black students who did not meet admission standards that were admitted, and she was not. She felt that she should have been, because her father is an alum, her sister is an alum, and her case was heard once before. She filed this case in 2008. It was thrown out, and somehow it made its way back in through hearings last week. And this is where the firestorm started, not only again for Abby, but also Justice Scalia, Antonin Scalia. He made a remark, it was pretty pejorative towards African Americans, in stating that Blacks should consider slower track schools. And I think that was definitely a passive-aggressive, underhanded dig at the historically Black colleges and universities. That was where he was trying to go, because he started talking about Black scientists and talking about where they tend to not graduate. And, in the course of affirmative action, there are so many different definitions that people have made up in political discourse. This Supreme Court is definitely an activist court when it comes to carrying out things that are not progressive, I think, for the country and moving the country forward. And this this discourse on affirmative action not only affects African Americans, but it does affect Latinos, women, the LGBT community, as well as veterans. I mean, affirmative action is a much larger scope than just race. But Abby Fisher's claim is that she was denied admission to the University of Texas because she was white. She felt oppressed. So that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. And I know some of our power listeners, you've already been in the game, and we've kind of been going back and forth with the Stay Mad Abby hashtag. And for some of our listeners who like to come and listen to the show just to pick up some of the hot topics that's going on, the Stay Mad Abby hashtag was started by the University of Texas Black and Latino alumni. Largely, Black alumni have taken over the tag, as well as other Black Americans across the country touting academic achievements, and also basically showing definitely Abby that she was basically mediocre. And something that's important about Abby Fisher's case, the University of Texas has repeatedly said she never would have gotten in. And Abby still maintains that there were students that had grades below hers that were still admitted, that a black student took her seat, when in actuality there were 47 students that had lower grades and scores than what she had. And of those 47, 42 were white and 5 were Black. And what Abby Fisher and her attorneys won't mention is that there were 168 African American and Latino applicants to the University of Texas that had scores greater than hers, as well as test scores greater than hers, that were denied admission. So we're definitely going to talk a little bit about that. And I want my guest, Nestor Rodriguez, he's a part of our WEplayRADIO family, and he is another host, and his show is here. And I want him to talk a little bit about his show, and then we're going to get into everything, affirmative action, this whole thing about this little brat complaining and everything. But Nestor, introduce yourself and tell everybody about you and your show, because I think our audience would love your show.
Yo, what's poppin'? Wow, that was some serious news. You got that shit down. You're professional. It's like a fucking CNN intro, and you went all over the place. Yeah, which that's kind of like what my show does. Not so not so educated sound, not so, my show doesn't sound so educated and sophisticated. Oh, there's a lot of cursing, and there's a lot of, big ups. I use an air horn, and, I just goof a lot. And, we tackle some similar subjects, race, racism, Republicans, Democrats, just crazy shit that people do in general, how fucking stupid people are. I mean, seriously, how stupid people are in America. And just, everything from A to Z. And, sometimes I do research, sometimes I pull shit out of my ass. And sometimes I'm like, I say shit that's like, did I just say that? Like sometimes I listen to some of my episodes and I'm like, what the fuck did you just say? But that's part of the freedom that internet radio allows individual hosts and shows, and I think that's the fun of it. You know what I mean? And we're both new here on WEplayRADIO. We were on Skid Row Studios before that, right. And WEplayRADIO is like a really new, interesting, and fun. Collective. Yes.
We're all very different.
Yeah, of different shows that came out of Skid Row Studios. And it's a great thing. I mean, I'm really excited just sitting here listening to you do your intro and set up your show. I'm just thinking, wow, I'm doing radio. No, seriously, it's kind of like the thing about internet radio is that, like, I have a stand-up comedian background. I'm Puerto Rican. I grew up. My grandmother's black. I'm all over the place in terms of a lot of things. And so one of the things I've always wanted to do is have a talk show. And so doing an internet radio show is that. You know what I mean? And there are no can'ts or you can't say this or don't do that. And I'll give a big shout out to Jeremy Hansen who started Skid Row Studios and put this took the bridge over to WEplayRADIO to just encourage that stuff. I mean, that's just that's priceless. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's priceless.
Yeah, and also we have the opportunity to sell our content and and mix up. I know I've been getting those calls.
Yeah. Well, shit. I mean the thing about content and internet radio is that there are so many different people out there, and not just in America, abroad in different countries that love America. They love American bullshit. You know what I mean? I mean, seriously. Yeah. I mean, when you watch TV, CNN, I don't really listen to terrestrial radio, and I haven't, other than maybe some jazz and public radio that has alternative music and interesting news things, unbiased, hopefully. But everything.
But you can listen to me though.
No, of course. But the beautiful thing about podcasts, I mean, I just say this, is that you can download them and listen to them whenever you want. Right. But what I was gonna say about CNN, it's almost the same rhetoric all the time. I was listening to this or reading this article about you were talking about the Republican National Convention. I was reading this article about how back in the 60s, about 4% of families that were either Democrat or Republican, right, would actually be pissed off if somebody in their family married someone outside of their party. And now, 5 decades later or so, over 40% of families would feel hurt or pissed off if a member of their family was, married a member of the opposite party, which the article was saying that our nation has become so bipartisan that it's like the bigotry, right, from one party to the other is kind of like the only socially accepted racist or bigoted.
It's a way to cloak it.
Yeah. And so it's even worse. It was saying than the racism between whites towards blacks and black towards white. So it's really interesting because as we have advanced technologically and with the information age and all that stuff, it's come down to are you Republican or are you Democrat? Further moving away from real issues that affect all people in general.
Exactly.
Because who gives a fuck if you're Republican or if you're Democrat? In my opinion, you're all full of shit. If you're based on just political parties, parties has nothing. You're not really dealing with the issues, and a lot of times it's a lot of wishy-washiness.
Yeah, and we've had guests on. We've actually had the Green Party on, and
those are the guys that smoke a lot of marijuana.
Well, that's what they're. We talked about that they're known for that, but
are they really? I don't know.
Well, the weed amendments they led a lot with the weed amendments, but also what they're leading right now is that they're leading to challenge the duopoly and for the debates that's coming up with the Presidential Commission on Debates.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we learned about the Green Party is when you look at the map in terms of electoral votes, they are on the right ballots. They are in place.
The Green Party.
The Green Party actually has the number of electoral votes that they could win.
Legalize it, man.
Green. Well, the thing about it is that's just one thing that they do.
No, I'm joking. I don't know what the hell
they do. What was so great about the interview that they gave and the time that we spent on the show was that they talked a lot about how they were getting their message out. And a I think a lot of what you mentioned about the two parties and how things have become polarized has it's been done. It's been strategically done, and it's been strategically done by the duopoly, because you've got these, I call them overpaid consultants. They put people up in these teams like our side, your side, and you know, I used to work in these war rooms on these political campaigns, and I ran communications teams for some of the top campaigns in the country. And I will tell you that you have people strategically doing that, not so much that there wasn't the expectation that people would start to go up on our team or that team. And because I always tell people, you know, they always ask me, they say, Janet, you know, I'm looking at the communications that's coming out of the White House, but I'm also looking at the communications at the RNC. You know, who's defending who? And I said, well, they need to defend themselves and not us, because most of the time, definitely with the Republicans, you see pundits. Basically, you've got Fox News coming behind as like their communications team. They are the official communications team. And of course, our listeners know that from me, they know that Fox News is not a news station. They have an entertainment license.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting,
it's a vicious
right?
cycle.
I was flying from New York, I think a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, right? And from New York to LA. And so I on JetBlue. So I was, you know, flipping through the channels, and every single channel had Trump's answer to the San Bernardino massacres is to not allow Muslims in the country. Ban Muslims. And every station except for the Republican stations. The Republican stations went off on gun control.
Yeah.
There
was a reason for that. They don't want to make the Saudis
mad. They went off. Not one of them addressed, you know, Donald Trump's ludicrous shit that comes out of his mouth, which, don't get me wrong. If you were to ask 10 people randomly in America if they thought that, I mean, it's okay to think certain things, right? Yeah. But I mean, I don't even know the word, the preposterousness, right? The psychoticness of thinking that you could actually ban certain people from entering the United States. It's just plain ludicrous, right?
Well, not to mention the role of the president. Can't do that. Congress has to do that. Now,
and it would take about 500 years.
Well, with the Congress that we have right now, there's no telling, because the only thing that they do is they'll have the ceremonial vote for people to vote no on, well, I call it the ACA, the healthcare, but everybody calls it about Obamacare. Right. And I've got issues with that. And our audience knows why I have those issues with calling it that, but it's the Accountable Care Act. And so they do that. And then they raise their pay. And then you've got somebody like Ted Cruz who likes to read Green Eggs and Ham. Yeah. And
well, that's his claim to fame, really. Like, as president, what have you accomplished as a senator, and what can you contribute to the presidency?
He basically jacked up the government.
Yeah. Basically, I know how to spend the government's money on bullshit, and I know how to read Dr. Seuss. Those are his two fucking claim to fame. Yes. Right? And Donald Trump's main claim to fame is erecting buildings the size of fucking big cocks with his name on them. And I'm serious. Everywhere you go in America, you see a Trump building. In Chicago, I forgot the name of the avenue, maybe Michigan Avenue,
I think it's Michigan.
And it goes straight into the Trump building, and it looks like this huge phallic symbol and the word Trump over it. It's just disgusting, you know?
Yeah, well, I talked about this on the show earlier. The thing that I do admire about Trump, he raised his kids properly. Because I always do with the criticism of a person, and then something positive. And one thing, he did not screw up with his children.
Well, I'm sure he banned toupees on his kids. That's one of the things he banned them. He was like, I'm raising you right. You need to let your hair fall naturally, not use a toupee. I mean, let me just talk about his hair, okay? Seriously.
You are from New York, so school
I got to talk about his hair, okay? First of all, I was an electrician, another one of my what do you call it? Checks under my belt. I was an electrician in New York City in the local union there. I'm a member of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Yes.
And I did have the pleasure of working in Trump Plaza on Central Park West and 50-something Street. And I saw him in person. Didn't meet him, but I saw him coming up the escalators, right? And I got to tell you, I have to be honest, and this was like 1998, 9, something like that, maybe 2000, but I think 99. I had not seen an uglier person. Oh. I swear to God, I'm not even bullshitting. I said to myself as he was walking up, I said, God damn, is that motherfucker ugly? I mean, he's just 40-footer. He's just not a good-looking guy. So with that said, you would think with all the money you have in the world, you would do something. Like get a membership to the hair club for men. Do something with that fucking abomination of like wigwam that he's got on his head. I mean, think about it. There are options for men nowadays.
Yeah, there are.
I mean, I'm not saying go bald because he does. I mean, his face is atrocious. But there are options. I mean, he could do something with his hair that it would look nice. It's almost like it's half dyed, half not dyed. Almost like he's saying, I don't give a fuck.
Well, he doesn't. He doesn't.
No, I know that. But I mean, you know, how you appearance is very important, especially if you're going to be a president, right?
True. Yes, it does.
You have to look somewhat appealing to look at.
Okay, well then, we'll talk a little bit about appearance a little bit before we get into because I really want to hear what you got to say about this little brat in Texas, little Abby. Little Abby.
It's an interesting story. It's an interesting story. I did a little research on her.
Appearance is important in presidential elections because going back to Kennedy and Nixon, that was the first, because that was also the first televised debate. And you saw a very young, very polished young man, with Kennedy, Jack Kennedy. And then you saw Nixon, who scowled half the time. In college, I was both a double major in communications and political science. So it's like I saw it twice because of this. And one of the things that we talked about was how effective Kennedy was at getting attention because of the way he looked.
Sure.
Same thing came up again in 1992 with Bill Clinton. And Papa Bush. Same exact thing that came up again. And same thing happened in 2008 with Obama and with McCain. And it was not only looks, but also age. And then that was the factor in, and that's what's so important for the demographics of the show. Gen Xers and millennials in 2008 became the bridge generations because Gen Xers were the first post-civil rights generation. Millennials became the second post-civil rights generation. So it's kind of like now America has two generations of Americans that were born post-civil rights. None of us know what it's like to live life when things were blatantly legal to be racist.
When there was segregation and
none of
separatists
us know.
And all that.
Exactly. I mean, I'm a child of parents who did have to live that way. And then millennials, they may be one generation or two generations away from it.
Are you kidding me? I was in the movie theater yesterday. Fuck segregational, what do you call it? Water fountains. Motherfuckers don't have patience nowadays. I'm in the line. There's about 4 people ahead of me. This dude nearly has a conniption because there were only 3 people at the ArcLight serving popcorn and soda. I swear to God.
Right.
He's like, there's 3 people there, right? And there's a bunch of people waiting online. He's like the 4th in line. He's like, can we get somebody here to more people? I'm like, dude, it's fucking popcorn, okay? Can you just have some fucking patience? Most people today would not fucking survive back in the 60s.
Oh, no.
It wouldn't happen.
Oh, no.
Wouldn't happen.
You're absolutely
you wouldn't
right.
know how to fucking deal.
Well, and not only that, I think, and this kind of goes into this whole, the Abby Fisher case, because with Abby, she feels like she's oppressed. I don't know what she's oppressed of. And I know lately this whole discussion of white privilege. I had a guest earlier this year. She's actually a diversity expert who does diversity training for white people,
right,
on racial literacy.
Right.
And one thing that we talked about white privilege was the fact that someone just feels like when something doesn't happen to them, it just doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
So to Miss Abby, she already felt like she was entitled to go to the University of Texas because her dad was an alum.
Right.
Her sister was an alum.
Right.
And the basis of her case is that she didn't get in because she was white. And my
Right.
first thought was, your dad didn't have any juice. He should have wrote a check,
right,
and she would have gotten in.
Right.
I mean,
well, she's stupid because she's redheaded. All she had to do is play the fucking ginger card. She's retarded.
Yeah.
All she had to do is all she had to do was whip out the statistics and said, how many redheads have you allowed in the school?
That's true.
Gone that route,
blondes.
and she may have gotten in. Instead, she's playing this stupid ass, and she's ugly. So she could have, she looks like a pancake. I mean, maybe it's just this photo that they took of her in midst of a sentence, but I would have played the red hair card. That's what I would have done. And I'll tell you, in her defense, it's not like she's, hasn't accomplished anything. She, and you said earlier, she's actually brought this case twice.
Yeah, and that's a rarity, because usually when you get kicked out,
and she's bringing it up to the Supreme Court for the 3rd time. And the article I read said something about if she wins, she can get her, she would get her $100 application fee back.
Yeah.
It's like, not for nothing, but all the black people who are fucking tweeting and hashtagging and all that shit, why don't you all just have a collection, right? 10 cents each, give her fucking $100 back, tell her to shut the fuck up and apply to some other fucking school and end it. I mean, what's the fucking big deal?
Yeah, she's being propped up by another organization.
No, I get it. I get it.
And here's the sad thing, and this is something that Gen Xers and millennials need to get, and I know our baby boomers will let me know what's up with this. The thing about affirmative action, people think it is the quota system. Like, I'm going to have this number of black people, this number of white people, this number of Latinos. And that is not what affirmative action is now. It used to be in the 60s and in the 70s, especially in 65 when Lyndon Johnson did the executive order, because racism was so rampant, and not just racism, but there were no considerations because some buildings didn't even allow black people to walk in.
Sure.
So, so this had to happen.
Right.
But affirmative action still needs to evolve because we've got these attitudes about people, and there's a broadening, I think, a broadening coverage of what affirmative action is now, because as we've added, Americans with disability, the Americans with Disabilities Act. Well, that's a part of affirmative action too.
Right.
So you've got disabled Americans that are a part of affirmative action. You've got
fuck
veterans.
those motherfuckers with no legs. It's like, you know what, man? Some motherfuckers walking in America have legs and they still can't get nowhere because they're stupid. So, like, fucking around.
No, I know.
I'm sorry.
And I think what's even sadder is when I saw the case, and I'm thinking, this girl doesn't even know that white women are the largest benefactor of affirmative action than anybody.
So let me ask you something.
Mm-hmm.
So what has affirmative action evolved into now? Since so it's interesting and important to know what you said earlier, that it was necessary, because back in the 60s when the Civil Rights Act was passed, people were still not allowing blacks or minorities to be in a building or to get into a specific school or whatever. Mm-hmm. So the government had to step in and say, you know what? You have to let at least 10% people, whatever. So what has it evolved into now?
It's evolved into two different things. I think one is socioeconomic, that's not race-based, and then it's still race-based, because you've got much more diversity now, because it's not just, it started out as a black thing,
right?
But now it's a Latino thing.
Right.
Now it's an Asian thing.
Right.
And I just want people to know, everybody who's Asian, they do not knock out the 800 on the math part of the SAT.
Yo, fuck that. If you're Asian and you don't get into a college, that's your fucking problem. You should not even be allowed in this fucking discussion, because y'all motherfuckers are born with a fucking PhD in between your little toes. All right? So, in fact, calculus is a fucking Chinese word. All right? So don't even fucking play that shit. What the problem is that, or the issue is that we have a whole new influx of Latinos from South America, Central America, and now those are the new, minorities that need to get into certain places or whatnot.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's still I think it's still race-based. And with Abby's case, what makes her even look even dumb, and even Scalia that looks even stupid, is that the University of Texas has over 51,000 students at that school.
Right.
The year that she was trying to get a seat, that year there were only 2,200, barely 2,200 black people out of 51,000.
I'm telling you, if you did the statistics, you'd find no redheads in there. That would have been her argument.
That's why she messed up.
It would have been a shit opening.
Yeah.
Because seriously, these are the facts. Okay, these are the facts. So. Let me see. As part of the administration process, the university applies both an academic index, which focuses on the grades, activities, and essays of a student, as well as a personal achievement index, which considers the family background, socioeconomic status, which you just mentioned, and yes, race. So, but it's important to know that her GPA was reportedly 3.59.
Yeah, but
hold on.
Was weighted though.
Well, hold on. I'm not defending her. I'm just saying it's reportedly, which isn't bad, right?
No,
putting her in the top 12% of her class, while her SAT was in 1180.
It was busted,
according to the Dallas Observer. There has been no discussion of whether or not her GPA was a weighted one due to AP courses. Let me see. Fisher believed that it was there was the increase in the admission of people of color who she assumed didn't do as much and didn't have the same grades as her that held her back. And that is why she has been fighting to win her case since 2008. So basically she's saying that had there not been that many more black applicants, her admission process would have not been cock-blocked like it was.
And she's complaining. That's when the University of Texas said there were 42 people, well, 47 people that were below her that were admitted. Only 5 were black and the other 42 were white.
40-something were admitted that were below her in academic?
47.
Really?
5 were black, but 42 were white.
And why is that? See, because...
Again, that's the whole...
that's their version of affirmative action?
No, it's not. In college admissions, one thing that people have to remember is if you've got circumstances in your background, socioeconomic,
you can't afford to go to college,
or you're the first in your family, or you've got an influential alum.
Got it.
And
so you might get into that
you'll get in
40 people below her that didn't do as well.
And I wouldn't doubt it.
See, my thing is
a wealthy alum may have written a letter of recommendation.
My thing
or
is,
they could have been athletes.
See, my thing is this, right? if you want to get in, you said it before. We're diverse enough now, and yes, there still is segregation, and there is socioeconomic segregation, and there's bigotry, and there's, I forgot the word, but prejudice, and there are and it exists in our society where some people don't get in based on the color of their skin, their religion, or whatever. It just so happens their sex. It happens
both ways.
It happens. I mean, if you look at the entertainment business, directors and women, I mean, that's a big thing that's been going on right now. A small percentage of women actually do the job of a director than men, than white men. So it's an ongoing thing. It's not just in academia, but I think that, and by the way, that's a very difficult thing to prove that you've been discriminated against because you're a woman as a director, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're looking at a situation, let's say, and I'll get back to this, because something that's been an ongoing theme, when you look at like a project, right? Let's say you and I decide we want to produce a film, right?
Right.
So we raise $1 million. Who is to say that we even considered a woman director? We may have already had J.J. Abrams in mind,
exactly.
Right? So in order for you to be discriminated against, you would have had to apply, right? To a job. The application is not even open because I already know who I want the CEO of my corporation to be.
You just do the workaround.
And it has nothing to do with you being a woman or black or whatever. Whereas in academia, it's a little bit more, there's more statistics and there's more numbers. And so it's a lot easier to pinpoint. But my thing is, in schools and jobs, I think schools and jobs should accept people based on skill. It shouldn't have anything to do with you being white or black. 2 questions. Are you smart enough? Can you put a fucking round peg in a round hole? Okay? And take it from there. It shouldn't have...
in theory, that sounds good, but that doesn't go down in real life.
Oh, no, I know.
It doesn't.
I know.
And affirmative action is one of these things that it keeps people honest. And I actually think the way the University of Texas did this and the way they have been responding to this young lady's claims, they've been very responsible. And the more you look at it, the way they break it down, you keep going, ooh, why didn't she stop? Because her SAT scores are terrible. And to that point, the definition of what she is operating on and the organization that keeps sponsoring her case, what they're operating on as if affirmative action is a quota system, and it's not. That was stopped in the 80s. And the way, and I always tell people, the way that Scalia and with his black should go to a slower track school, and her at what she's whining about. If affirmative action worked the way that did, I should have gotten into Harvard. I got waitlisted at Harvard. I got a 1470 on my SATs, which to her scores.
Shit, I sniffed a gram. I think I sniffed 1.470 grams of cocaine the night before my SAT. And I went into my SATs wired to the fucking point that, like, I wasn't sure what the hell I was doing. And I finally said, fuck it. I think maybe I got, what's the lowest you can get on an SAT? 800 or something?
No. 200 for putting your name on
I think I may have gone 800. And let me tell you something. From a Latino, from where I come from, 800, that was good.
Oh, no.
That was fucking awesome. Yeah.
No, but for her to have an 11.
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
Because for 2 reasons. They can take calculators in. When I took the exam over 32 years ago.
No, you couldn't take calculators. No.
And the fact that because I started looking at this and I'm like, well, dog. I could have beat her out for her spot.
Yeah.
That's why I joined the Stay Mad Abby.
Right.
And
well, she's clearly an idiot.
No, she is.
She's an idiot.
Her GPA. And something that you have to remember, it is weighted.
Right.
Which that's even worse because kids today have access to more AP courses. 32 years ago when I was taking AP courses, when I applied to college, my GPA was unweighted because I hadn't finished.
Tell me what an AP course.
Advanced placement. That's where you get college credit in high school, and it pads your GPA.
Well, that's why I got an extra.
Weighted.
That's why I got an extra 8 credits in chemistry for all the cocaine I did and all the hallucinogens I did in high school. I just wrote a short paper. No, seriously, I was able to graduate college based on an exam or two that I could take based on my experience in a certain subject.
Well, see, with this though, that was the CLEP exam that you're talking about.
CLEP.
See, I know my stuff. But for her case,
CLEP is like for people who have a problem not paying for shit and you constantly steal stuff.
Well, and
so
you get
CLEP
credit.
is kind of like an exam where you're stealing credits from college and you don't have to pay for it.
Exactly.
Just for the examination, $40.
Well, and I know people who've CLEP'd and they got AP credit, so that's like the hookup.
It's awesome.
But for her, kids, it started in the mid '90s where kids were allowed to take AP classes earlier in their high school career, 10th grade, and some in 9th grade. And also there's something called International Baccalaureate classes as well. Well, AP classes, you can get a B and it's worth 4 points, which on the regular academic scale is a regular A, but a B in an AP class is a B, and A is worth a 5. Well, in an IB class, the scale is even higher. So you've got, when I saw her GPA, knowing that she had access to be in higher classes, her 3.5 is the equivalent of a 2.5 grade point average, unweighted.
Let me just go back and say
weighted.
Let me just go back and say she should have filed a grievance based on the color of her hair. I'm telling you, I just looked at it. I just want to say that again. She would have had a case. I guarantee you, she would have had a case.
Here's the interesting thing: the University of Texas that said that through the regular admissions process, she would not apply. She wouldn't be admitted. They offered her provisional status, and she turned her nose up to it.
And what is provisional status?
Provisional status says that she could go to another state school for 1 year and maintain the GPA. I think at least a B, and transfer it. She didn't want to do that.
Right.
And she wound up actually going to LSU.
Got it.
So, and she said it was her second choice.
Got it.
But, for her to keep doing this over $100.
Well, to bitch and moan about your opportunity based on the fact that other people, namely black people, were considered is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just completely ridiculous. And I think that she should be taken to a black prison like... what's the name of that prison in Angola? I think it's in Arizona. And they should take her to the big black cock cell block section and have her get slapped like repeatedly. You know how You know how you have.
That's kind of mean.
Forgive my vulgarity, but this is how I feel. Okay, this is how I feel about her and what she's saying
and what she's promoting.
She should have the opportunity to be what do you call it when you have to do something to get into some sort of sorority or
she has to pledge.
She has to pledge. So she would have to be pledged by some humongous lifers in between, like go down
in a women's prison.
No, in a men's prison.
No.
Yeah, get knocked outside the head by mandingos as she's walking by. That's what she should.
Like a gauntlet. No, I would at least send her to like the Orange is the New Black.
That's easy, man, because then somebody will make her their bitch and then she'll live happily ever after. No, I'm talking about her walking down like a 5-minute, like quiet cell block and just get hit
straight.
Just situation. Get hit in the head with a bunch of penises clunk 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 clunk.
No, that's a little mean.
No, I'm serious. By the time she gets at the end of the cell block, she'll forget what her cause was, and she'll just be happy where she is in life. That's not mean. What's mean? What's really mean is the fact that she's actually, with a straight face, taking a case to a university based on her lack of opportunity because blacks got some sort of opportunity.
And she's saying because she's white, she didn't.
That's mean. That's mean.
Yeah.
That's mean. I'm telling you, that's and it's disgusting and it's despicable.
Well, what makes this case so disgusting is Scalia's points, and that kind of goes into what a lot of people in my family who marched in the streets, who withstood dogs and water hoses, and to hear him say that, it really bothered me in the sense that he's basically trying to discredit. And to these young kids, the University of Texas, current students and graduates, when they started the Stay Mad Abby hashtag, they were putting their GPAs, their requirements of what they not only had when they applied to UT, the fact that they were on dean's list, president's list, just all in the face. And then these four guys, I love them. They call themselves, shout out to Justice Scalia. We're 4-track blacks. We all went to undergrad at Morehouse, but then I'm a doctor from Georgetown. He's a doctor from he's a doctor from Harvard, and here's another lawyer from Yale. And I mean, it's been actually very gratifying in seeing it. And for me, I'm second generation college graduate in my family, and just this weekend, the first person in our third generation in my family started off the third generation of college graduates. And my grandfather was a sharecropper, so it kind of stings when you have someone who basically didn't do anything but be born white to say something that we should be slower tracks. Because like me, with 32 years ago, with my credentials, I interned for two members of Congress, a U.S. senator and a congressman, and they wrote my letters of recommendation. And
that's ignorant talk, though. That's ignorant talk.
It is ignorant talk.
I mean,
and in this day and age, though, when we're looking at so many things that haven't progressed, where we've got a lot of these police shootings, and you've got some of these incidents where, we have a black president. We've got some people who can deal with it very well. We've got other people that are just losing their minds and being passive aggressive in so many other ways, and lying, and just, there are just some people. I'm like, be honest.
Obama, what Obama did. Okay, first of all, let me go back to when you said when we were talking about appearance. Obama is and was the sexiest president of the United States besides John F. Kennedy. When Obama came, he was one of the most put together, easy to look at, just fine. Okay. And so, that's half the package right there.
Right.
Intelligent, knows what he's talking about. Boom. What Obama did by getting reelected the second term is he fucking sparked a fire up all these racist white dudes' asses, and black, because there's some black racist motherfuckers too.
Absolutely.
Sparked some racist shit in their ass, because what that said was, oh shit. The first time wasn't, we thought it was just bullshit, a fluke. The second time is these really motherfuckers, happened. And not only that, these motherfuckers think that they can run. Believe me, this is what these people think. And so they're angry. And so it comes out in law enforcement. It comes out in many different outlets,
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's what we're seeing. And so to see this hashtag kind of turn some of that nonsense on its head is, I think it's perfect.
Let's do a new hashtag, 10 cents for Abby.
I love it.
Hashtag 10 cents for Abby. And have everybody just 10 cents.
Give her a dime.
We'll give her $100 back, and then she might even get a hell of a lot more money. And, she may just shut the fuck up.
Or we do GoFundMe.
GoFundMe, yeah. GoFundMe, shut the fuck up, Abby Fisher. I think that's what you got to do because she needs help.
But this case is going to be interesting, and just to see that it came twice and what's going to happen. What's interesting is that Clarence Thomas, he's been quiet. And he's someone that younger African Americans like me, I have a problem with him, and I have a problem with Ben Carson for the two reasons that they were benefactors of that old quota system,
right.
And then they're up shuffling and tap dancing.
Well,
you know, in the sense of saying I got mine,
right,
kind of thing, and it's wrong.
Right.
It is wrong, and that's actually a point of contention with some of us who are younger, because we don't pay attention to them and we don't respect them, and
right.
I think that's a lot of what's going on in terms of what's happening with this seismic shift, not only in race relations, but I even think in particularly in the Black community, there's becoming this big shift in with generations because of Gen Xers and millennials not having lived through that. I mean, if you think about it, we are the dream. We're the dream that Dr. King was talking about.
Yeah.
And
half of y'all motherfuckers are sleeping.
Yeah.
So that basically tells you how good the dream is.
Well, and it's...
The rest of you are on fucking Xanax. So between half sleeping fucks and half Xanax, good luck.
And then weed heads.
And weed heads. Yeah. Yeah.
And, you know, and I think that's what's going on where here in the country, things are just shifting. And certainly, I things have to change for sure.
10 cents for Abby. I'm hashtag 10 cents for Abby. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Here, hashtag 10 CENTS, the number 4, and then Abby. Start doing it. Give her 10 cents. Shut the fuck up.
I love it. I love it. You know what? Our time is up. And definitely, though, Nestor, we have to have you back. Now, you have to tell us the name of your show. You never told
I
the
didn't.
listeners.
Oh, my God. You're so good. I'm so sorry. It's Nestorious Public Radio. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I go off. And before we sign off, I do want to apologize to all your audiences because I don't know what the flavor is. And if somebody got offended by my vulgarity, I really mean it. I apologize. On my show, I just come out with just ridiculous stuff, and to you as well. If I said anything that was offensive,
I would have stopped you.
Yeah. But for the rest of y'all, go fuck yourself. All right, that's all I want to say. It's Nestorious Public Radio. You can check out the show live, I believe, on Thursdays. I think it's live, and I'm saying I believe because it's roughly 9 to 10 p.m. You know, give or take. Pacific Standard Time. Yeah, we're still ironing that out, and you can definitely check it out on iTunes. I have about over 100 episodes. Some interesting interviews. I interviewed Ted Lang from The Love Boat. I've interviewed Michael Chiklis. I've interviewed, and I got a lot of crazy nonsense topics like Abby, but not Abby.
Okay.
Usually, people who I interview are not redheads.
Well, we'll have to bring you back for sure, and definitely, I appreciate you for coming through. And listeners, you check out his show, and just check out the entire We Play Radio family. This is a new thing going, and certainly where you hear me, you can always hear me. And definitely keep watching the Facebook page for the top trending news, and keep at it with me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I'd like to thank Jeremy, our engineer extraordinaire who makes things go. And just as another note for our We Play Radio family, Jimmy Cabs is back tonight, so stay tuned later. And once again, we will talk to you the next time we talk to you. Same time, same place. Thanks so much.